It's 4 o'clock in the afternoon. Dinner isn't started. Your toddler was completely fine an hour ago. And then, out of nowhere, they are on the floor, screaming, falling apart over a cracker that broke in half. And your first thought? Why is this happening again? Because it does happen again. Same time, same chaos, day after day. Here's what most parents don't know. That 4 p.m. meltdown, it is not random. It is not defiance, and it is not a reflection of your parenting. It's biology. And once you understand what's actually happening inside your toddler's brain, you'll never see that moment the same way again. Hey everyone, we're 3 Koi Fishes, a team of parents with over 80 years of combined parenting experience. We dive into pediatric guidance, we research it, and we share what parents really need to know. So if you're new here, welcome. And if you've been with us a while, let's get into it. Let's start with something that might make you feel a whole lot better. According to the American Academy of Child and Adolescent Psychiatry, all toddlers have temper tantrums, every single one, and most will have at least one per day. You are not the exception. You are the rule. A 2022 study published in the Journal of Developmental and Behavioral Pediatrics out of the University of Amsterdam followed 861 children between the ages of 1 and 5. What they found was that tantrum frequency is completely normal in toddlerhood. It's not a red flag. It's a developmental stage. But here's the part that study didn't fully explain, and the part most parents never hear about. Why does it peak at the same time every single afternoon? That's what we're going to answer today. Okay, so we need to talk about cortisol. Now, most people hear cortisol and think stress hormone, and that's partly true. But cortisol does something much more important than that. It's actually a regulatory hormone. It controls your child's energy, their alertness, and their brain's ability to handle challenge. And here's the key thing to understand. Cortisol follows a curve throughout the day. It rises in the morning, usually about 30 to 45 minutes after your child wakes up. That morning surge is what helps their brain come online and manage the world around them. Then, over the course of the afternoon, it falls. And in toddlers, that fall is steep, and it lands hard. Research from Dr. Megan Gunner at the University of Minnesota's Institute of Child Development, one of the world's leading experts on stress in early childhood, found that children between ages 1 and 3 hit their lowest cortisol levels of the entire day between 3 and 5 p.m. Let that sink in. Part of their biology that supports self-regulation, it is at its absolute lowest, right around 4 o'clock. At the same time, adenosine, the chemical that signals physical fatigue, has been building since the moment they woke up. So you have low cortisol and high fatigue hitting at the exact same moment. Researchers call this the regulatory valley, and your toddler doesn't know they're in it. They just know that everything feels harder, everything feels bigger, everything feels like a crisis. That cracker didn't just break, their world broke. And that's not drama. That's a developing brain doing exactly what developing brains do. Now let's go one layer deeper, because this is where it gets really important. Your toddler has a region of the brain called the prefrontal cortex. That's the executive center. It's responsible for impulse control, emotional regulation, flexible thinking, the ability to hear no and not completely fall apart. Here's the thing. The prefrontal cortex is the last part of the human brain to fully develop. Scientists at Harvard's Center on the Developing Child confirm it doesn't reach full maturity until your mid-20s. At age 2, it's barely online. And here's why that matters so much in the afternoon. When cortisol drops during that regulatory valley we just talked about, the prefrontal cortex is the region that gets hit hardest. The more primitive parts of the brain, particularly the amygdala, which drives fight or flight responses, they become relatively more dominant. So what does that mean in real terms? It means a broken cracker genuinely feels like a catastrophe to your toddler at 4 p.m., not because they're being manipulative, not because they need stricter discipline, but because the part of their brain that can put it in perspective, it's offline. And here's a statistic that puts this in sharp relief. Research shows that in the first 1,000 days of life, from birth to age 3, a baby's brain builds more than 1 million new neural connections per second. 1 million per second. The University of Minnesota reports that 80% of a child's total brain development happens in that window alone. Think about what you're actually watching during a 4 p.m. meltdown. You're watching a brain that is building itself at an extraordinary pace, running out of fuel for the day. That's not failure, that's growth. So here is the part that changes everything, because knowing why this happens is powerful, but knowing what to do about it in the moment when your toddler is on the floor, that's what actually makes a difference. We call this the 5-second test. Before you respond, before you correct, redirect, or raise your voice, give yourself 5 seconds and run through 5 quick questions. 1. Are they hungry? Blood sugar is directly connected to cortisol levels. A light protein-based snack at 3 p.m., think cheese, peanut butter, or a whole grain cracker, can actually buffer that regulatory valley before it hits. This one change alone makes a measurable difference for a lot of families. 2. Are they overstimulated? If the TV is on, there's noise in the kitchen, and someone's asking them a question all at the same time, that's sensory overload layered on top of biological depletion. Reduce the input before you try to address the behavior. 3. Is what I'm asking age-appropriate right now? Putting on shoes requires fine motor coordination and voluntary compliance. Both of those are prefrontal cortex functions, and we just established that system is running on empty. Adjust your expectations for what this moment can hold. 4. Do they need connection before correction? Dr. Daniel Siegel at UCLA, co-author of The Whole Brain Child, has shown through research that physical connection in a moment of dysregulation actually helps re-engage the prefrontal cortex, getting down to their level, making eye contact, offering a hug. That's not rewarding bad behavior. That is neurologically strategic parenting. There's a real difference. 5. Am I regulated enough to respond? This one's for you. Your nervous system is your toddler's reference point. If you escalate, they escalate. If you stay calm, and we know that's not always easy, you give their brain a regulated state to borrow from. That's co-regulation, and it works. Now here are 3 structural changes you can make this week, not in the moment, but before the meltdown starts. Strategy 1, the 3 p.m. snack. Protein and complex carbohydrates before the cortisol valley begins. It's simple, it's research-backed. And parents who implement it consistently report a noticeable reduction in late afternoon meltdowns. Try it for 1 week and watch what happens. Strategy 2, lower the sensory load before 4 p.m. Screens off by 3:30. Shift to quieter, lower stimulation activities. Give their nervous system a chance to decompress before the demands of dinner and bedtime routines begin. Their brain has been working hard all day. Give it permission to wind down. Strategy 3, build in a transition buffer. Between the end of school or daycare and the start of your evening routine, build in 15 to 20 minutes of completely unstructured, child-led play. No agenda, no tasks, just them leading. Research consistently shows this decompression window reduces late afternoon dysregulation. It's one of the most underused tools in a parent's toolkit. Here's what we want you to take away from today. Your toddler is not giving you a hard time. They're having a hard time. And the fact that you're here, watching this, learning this, wanting to understand what's happening inside their brain, that says everything about the kind of parent you are. Because parenting is hard. Nobody hands you a manual. You figure it out in real time, usually when you're tired, usually when the dinner's not ready, usually at 4 p.m. But here's what the science tells us. Every time you stay regulated when they're falling apart, every time you choose connection over correction, every time you run through that 5-second test instead of reacting, you are not just surviving a meltdown. You are helping wire your child's brain. You are building the neural pathways that will eventually allow them to manage their own emotions, to handle frustration, to recover from hard moments. Those pathways form in moments like this one, when a parent chooses understanding over punishment. The first 1,000 days are building the foundation of everything. And you are in the middle of the most important work of your child's life. You've got this. If you found this information useful and want other parents to know, please hit the subscribe button to help grow the channel. And please share your thoughts and experiences in the comments below. We read every single one. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.